You won't believe me when I tell you this, but I swear it's true. I'm a 27-year-old woman, and I think my husband is hiding something terrifying from me. From the outside, everything looks perfect. We've been married for 3 years, and to everyone else, he's the dream guy. Hardworking, charming, the kind of man who makes people say, "Wow, you're so lucky." And for the longest time, I thought I was lucky. I thought I had found the kind of love that people spend their whole lives chasing. But now I don't even know who I'm sharing a bed with. It started with little things. Late-night texts he wouldn't explain. Him taking phone calls in the garage or outside, whispering so I couldn't hear. At first, I brushed it off. Work stress, right? Everyone's allowed a little privacy. But then I noticed his lies. He'd say he was at the office, but I'd see his location pop up across town. He'd tell me he was working late, but he'd come home smelling like cologne he didn't even own. I wanted to believe it was nothing. I told myself I was paranoid, that maybe I was just being insecure. But then something happened that I can't shake. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. and realized he wasn't in bed. I got up and went downstairs, thinking maybe he was having trouble sleeping. But when I peeked into the living room, my stomach dropped. He was sitting there in the dark, staring at his laptop screen. His face was pale, his jaw clenched, like he was watching something horrifying. I called his name, and he slammed the laptop shut so fast it made me jump. I asked him what he was doing. He smiled too quickly, too forced, and said he was just checking emails. At 2 in the morning? In the dark? With his hands shaking? That's when I knew something was wrong. The next day, while he was showering, I tried to check his laptop. Password protected. I'd never known him to lock it before. And then I found out he'd changed the password on his phone, too. Suddenly, the man who used to leave his phone lying around like it was nothing was guarding it like it contained state secrets. I tried to push the feeling away, but I couldn't. I started noticing other things. He started getting home later. His clothes sometimes smelled faintly of perfume, a floral kind I didn't wear. He'd be distracted during dinner, staring off into space like he was somewhere else entirely. And then, this is the part that makes my skin crawl. I found a key in his jacket pocket. Not our house key, not his office key, a completely different key, taped with a little label that said Unit 3B. I asked him about it, and he shrugged, said it was for storage. But we don't have a storage unit. I checked. That night, I couldn't sleep. My heart wouldn't stop racing. Who was this man I married? What was he hiding in that apartment, or whatever it was? I know I should have let it go, but I couldn't. I needed to know the truth. So one afternoon, when he said he was working late, I followed him. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely keep the steering wheel steady. I stayed far behind, praying he wouldn't notice. He didn't go to his office. He didn't go to the gym or to a friend's place. He drove across town and parked outside an old apartment complex. My stomach twisted when I saw him pull out that key and unlock the door to Unit 3B. I sat in my car for nearly an hour, waiting. Then the door opened again, and my husband wasn't alone. A woman stepped out behind him. She was younger than me, maybe mid-20s, with long dark hair. She laughed at something he said, and then he kissed her. Kissed her like he used to kiss me. I swear, my whole world shattered right there in that parking lot. I wanted to storm out, scream at him, at her, at both of them, but I couldn't move. I just
sat there, frozen, watching the life I thought I had slip through my fingers. Eventually, they went back inside, and I drove home, numb. That night, when he came back, I pretended to be asleep. He slid into bed beside me, smelling faintly of her perfume, and I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I stayed quiet. I needed time to think. And that's when I realized something even more terrifying. If he's lying to me about this, what else is he lying about? I couldn't sleep that night. I just lay there next to him, staring at the ceiling, wondering who I had actually married. My mind was racing. The affair was bad enough, but something told me this wasn't just about another woman. The way he had been acting, the secrecy, the late-night phone calls, the locked laptop, it all felt bigger. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I asked him straight out, "Who is she?" His face went blank for half a second, then he laughed it off. "What are you talking about?" he said, kissing my forehead like I was being silly. And maybe that would have worked a year ago, but now I knew better. I didn't answer him. I just looked at him. He shifted under my stare, his smile twitching at the edges. That was the first time I saw the mask slip. He wasn't the calm, charming man everyone thought he was. He was cornered. Over the next few days, I played dumb. I smiled, I cooked dinner, I pretended everything was normal. And while he thought I was buying his act, I was digging. I waited until he left his laptop unattended for once, and I tried again. I don't know how I guessed the password, maybe intuition, maybe luck, but when I typed in the name of that woman I saw him with, boom, it opened. My stomach turned as I read what was on the screen. It wasn't just emails. It was bank statements, transfers, thousands of dollars being funneled into an account I didn't recognize. Some of it to her, some of it to someone else. I clicked deeper and found messages, not just between him and her, but between him and men I didn't know. It wasn't an affair, or at least it wasn't just an affair. My husband was running some kind of side business, and it wasn't legal. I felt sick. I didn't know if it was drugs, stolen goods, or something worse, but the money was real, the lies were real, and suddenly the affair seemed like the least of my problems. I copied everything I could onto a flash drive and shoved it into my pocket. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely breathe. That night, when he climbed into bed and kissed me goodnight, I wanted to scream at him, to tell him I knew everything, but instead, I lay still, holding that little piece of plastic in my hand like it was the only thing keeping me safe. The next day, I went to the police. I didn't even know what to say at first. I just blurted out that my husband was lying, that he was hiding money, that I thought he was into something criminal. They took the flash drive. They told me they'd look into it. And then they told me something that froze my blood. One of the officers pulled me aside and said, "Ma'am, we've had our eye on your husband for a while now. You did the right thing, but you need to be careful. Very careful." I drove home in a daze. My husband was already there, cooking dinner like nothing was wrong, smiling at me across the kitchen like we were any normal couple. But now I couldn't unsee it. The charm, the easy smile. It wasn't love. It was a mask. That night, I barely touched my food. He asked me if I was okay, if something was wrong. I lied and told him I was tired. But I saw the way he watched me, like he knew I knew, like this game between us had just shifted. A week later, it all came crashing down. It was a Saturday morning when the police raided our house. They had a warrant. They tore through everything, and I just stood there clutching my chest while the neighbors stared. My husband was handcuffed right in front of me, dragged out onto the lawn while he shouted and cursed. He looked at me once, and I'll never forget that look. Not anger, not betrayal, pure hatred, like I was the one who ruined his life. I should have felt relief, and in some ways I did. But the fallout was worse than I could have imagined. My family was dragged through the mud, my name was in the papers, people whispered about me at work, at the grocery store, everywhere. And worst of all, part of me still grieved. I had lost the man I thought I married, even if he never truly existed. If you're listening to this, you might think, that could never happen to me. I'd know if my spouse was lying. I'd see the signs. But I'm here to tell you, no, you wouldn't. Because the signs don't look like signs when you're in love. They look like quirks, like little oddities you brought.